Welcome back to the Legacy Podcast. My name is Olisya Grant, co-founder of Matrix Legacy Inc. I am here with the other co-founder.
Welcome, Matrix Legacy family. Excited to be back here. I know it's been a while, but I'm excited for this topic, so happy to be here.
Yes. We are back for episode number 45. 45, guys. We made it all the way to 45. This is the show where we create a blueprint for success. We look for ways to create generational wealth, and we break those chains of a poverty mindset. So as every episode goes, we have to start with the gratitude. It has been overwhelming. The numbers are insane. The DMs I've been getting, the messages of
all the support has been crazy.
It's been phenomenal. And the biggest thank you that I could ever get is somebody saying, hey, I took something from what you guys said, or I found a piece of information in one of your podcasts that helped me with whatever it looks like. So to get those messages really means the world, and I'm really happy we get to have this information exchange and have this space where we can really just share and grow together, because that's really what this is about. So on that topic, a few episodes ago, I had requested that you guys send in your own personal requests of topics that you'd like to hear about, things that you might need help working through. And a few of the requests that I got were in regards to adapting and dealing with change. And so that's what we're going to dive into today, is how to really embrace and evolve with it. Because, I mean, it's going to happen whether we like it or not. We've witnessed insane changes that nobody could ever have expected or really truly prepared for over the past year. And so we want to give a few ideas and just talk about why it's important to be able to adapt to change in the first place. So when we're talking about change, the biggest change that most people can think about right now is this global pandemic. It's in everybody's face. Everybody is thinking about that right now. Whether you might have lost a job, or somebody you know might have been sick or unfortunately passed on. There's so many different ways. Whether you're a partier and you can't go to the club anymore, your favorite restaurant, whatever it looks like, every single person listening to this has been affected by this pandemic in one way or another.
But of course, we don't want to just talk about COVID. We want to talk about every area of life and in a positive setting as well. So that way, it's not just a negative conversation, it's a positive outlook as well.
Exactly. So when we're talking about change, it doesn't just have to be in the midst of a global pandemic. It could be, like us, when you're preparing for the birth of a child, or whether you're moving, there's a change in your career, a change in your finances, a change in your relationship status. Change is a constant. And so what we want to do is we want to set you guys up with 3 tips or just things to think about as you look to adapt and really embrace change for yourself in whatever facet that it looks like. Of course, as we said, the thing that most people are thinking about right now is the pandemic. So a lot of this can be applied to that, but also just keep in mind it can really be applied to wherever you are in your journey.
Exactly. So the first tip we wanted to always talk about, or the first thing to think about, is just to embrace it. It's just to understand that it's going to happen whether we like it or not. Like how my wife was saying, the only thing that's constant in this world is change. So as long as we want to go forward with it, we understand that to be ready for it, it makes it a whole lot easier than when it actually happens.
Exactly. My mentor always gives the analogy of like an ostrich. So the ostrich, when they're running away from their predator, they'll stick their head in the sand and think that they're protected now. Regardless of what's attacking them or what's chasing them, if they just run fast enough and stick their head in the sand, they think they're safe. But your whole body is left out. So regardless of if you don't want to think about it, you don't want to see it, it's going to happen anyways. And so you can run for as long as you want, but eventually you're going to have to slow down, and whatever it is that you're running from is going to catch up. So exactly how Ty was just saying, it's so important that we embrace it and say, okay, this is the change, this is happening, so what am I going to do about it? What can I do going forward to make sure that myself, my loved ones, whoever is affected by this is going to be in the best position? So the first step to embracing change is face it. Don't run from it, because it's happening whether you want to think about it, whether you want to see it or not. And one thing that I really noticed, especially when all of this stuff hit, you had 2 very opposite sides of the spectrum. You had one group of people who were literally becoming scientists and wanting to study and soak in all the information that was on the news, all the negativity, how many numbers, what the cases were, things like that. And then you had other people who said, okay, let me check in and just see what's going on, but I need to make sure my world is in place. I understand this is a global pandemic, but I can't help anybody else if I haven't already helped myself. And if I haven't already embraced the fact that this is something real and people are being affected, I understand that. Great. Now, what am I going to do to set myself up? Instead of just consuming all of the negativity or all of the noise that is coming through the media or coming through your friends or whoever is delivering the information to you.
So then now on to the second point or second tip that I like to talk about, where the first one is, embracing the change. Then the second tip is to just be proactive. Fall forward, as we like to say. Because as my wife was talking about, where it's like, since it's going to happen anyways, why not be ahead of the curve instead of being behind it? And a great example is where we would always see where being technology literate was something that was nice to have. Now it's required. So why don't we just put that into every other aspect of change and just, run forward, be ahead of the curve, just literally be proactive.
Yeah, another thing that I hear is you're supposed to board up the house before the storm, not during the storm. And that's where a lot of people get stuck, is waiting for a tragedy to happen, waiting for something to force them into action instead of first saying, well, how can I get ahead of this? And so one thing that we were doing, obviously we couldn't predict a pandemic. We couldn't predict what was going to happen. Even with our son, we're expecting a baby in a few months, and we weren't necessarily expecting that. However, we were proactive in terms of making sure that we were taking care of our health before we even knew we were going to need to be healthy. So what kinds of things are we eating? Are we exercising? Things like that, to be proactive. So we're ready for these things. And things like getting our finances in order, already starting to budget, already starting to look for ways to diversify the ways that we're making money. So it was preparation before we even knew what we were preparing for. We just knew that, you've got to have a plan of action because things are going to change. And if something were to happen, then what is it that we can do to make sure that we're able to stay ahead?
Exactly. And it's like you can use it for any small or any big things, whether it be having a little bit of extra money, let's say for your car to break down. Or let's just say, a loved one wants to pass away, for example, God forbid, do you have expenses taken care of, let's just say for the funeral, things like that. Just making sure that you always prepare and always having a plan in place will go 1,000 times faster than anybody can ever imagine.
Exactly. And even just building off of that. So if we're looking for ways to be, if you don't even know what you're supposed to be proactive about, that's why you have to constantly stay in a state of learning and of discovering. And so things like reading and attending seminars and really reaching out to people in different walks of life who have had different experiences than you've had, that's another way that you're going to be proactive. For example, let's take this back to the economic crash of 2008. Let's say you had spoken to somebody who had already gone through something like that. You would understand kind of the steps that they took to get out of it, or things that they wish that they had done. So you could already start learning and thinking, well, if history usually repeats itself, what could I do in this situation? Even if it's just a hypothetical, what kind of things would I need to have in place? And so really constantly looking for ways to grow and develop. Personal development always comes into every single thing that we talk about on this podcast, because it's so important. And so if you're in that constant growth state, constantly looking for new things and ways to learn, skills to develop, so that whatever comes your way, you're prepared for it. That's how you become more proactive instead of reactive and having to have all that extra stress around whatever changes are coming your way.
Make And the one thing that we want to make sure no one has to say is, I wish. Like, I wish I could have done this, or I wish I could have done that. Make sure then if you don't want to have to say that, make sure then you don't have to say it. Be ahead of the curve. Always make sure you're doing what you have to do to be ahead. And that honestly goes into our third point, where let's just say you don't have everything figured out. Let's just say, because there's only 24 hours in a day, and we can all understand that. But let's just say you need help, ask for help. People are open and they're ready to help. They're ready for people that are vulnerable, that want to make a change, that want to make a difference, to help and, put their hand out. But if nobody knows that you need help, how can you expect to get anything?
Exactly. A lot of times our ego gets in the way, and even if we're drowning, whether it be when it comes to our health, or we're dealing with toxic relationships, or we can't figure out how to get ahead on our finances or get out of debt, whatever that looks like, so many of us are too proud and we want to hold this image. And I always bring it back to like social media and this unrealistic standard of where we should be at what point in our lives, we want to paint such a beautiful picture that we're causing more stress and more pain on ourselves. And so when changes do hit, then we're still not even prepared to reach out and ask for help, no matter how badly we need it. There's so many people suffering in silence, and I know that. And this is one of the main reasons why this podcast even came about. There's a lot of people who say, I want to get to that next level, but I don't want anybody to know that I'm not yet at that level. So we don't ask for the help that we need. And exactly how Tyler was saying, if nobody knows that you need help, then how are we supposed to help you?
How are we supposed to help? A closed mouth doesn't get fed.
Amen to that. Exactly. And so really just put your ego to the side, and because the whole point of this is so we can all grow and develop together. If you're running on an empty tank, then you cannot help anybody. Your loved ones, whether it's your parents, your children, your friends, whoever it is, if you're on empty, well, you're no good to anybody else, including yourself.
Exactly.
So if you got to take some time and reach your hand out, and you have to lean on somebody until you're able to stand on your own and hold some other people up at that point, well, then that's just what you have to do. And that's the name of the game. That's why we network. That's why we collaborate. And that's why we put out the good energy in the world, so it comes back to us when we do need it in our times in need.
Exactly. Not everybody knows everything, and that's just how it is. That's why we have people in professional for real estate. That's why you have professional investors. That's why you have professional accountants. That's why you have professional athletes that hire a professional coach to help them. Everybody needs something from somebody else, because we all have our expertise and we all have experience in something. And it's always a matter of bringing it together and asking for that hand, or asking for that tip, or just asking for something to just bring you one step closer to your goal, or one step better, 1% better every single day.
Exactly. And so those are really the three main points that we want to drive home. The foundational part of this is change is inevitable. The only thing guaranteed in this life
is change.
Is that everything is going to change, whether you like it or not. So the first tip in order to evolve with change is to embrace it.
Accept it.
Don't run from it. Face it. Understand that things are changing anyways, and figure out your game plan going forward. The second thing that you're going to want to do is be proactive. Always be learning, always be looking for new skills, new experiences, new individuals to add value to your life, so that when change does come into your space, you're already prepared for it. You've already done the work, and now it's just time to take advantage of everything that you've built.
The harder you work, the luckier you get.
Exactly. And then the third one is to ask for help. There is no need to suffer in silence. There is always somebody who their greatest joy comes from helping other people. And so if you reach your hand out and say, listen, I need some assistance, make sure you're asking the right people.
Of course.
Who could actually help you. Don't tell your problems to people who can't provide you with a solution.
Waste
Everybody's time. But make sure that you're asking for help, and when you are in a space of I don't understand, or I don't know what my next step is, it's okay to look for a coach, a mentor, a friend, somebody who's already been there, done that, so they can help you move ahead as well. So that is all we've got, guys. I truly, truly hope this helped somebody, and I do hope those of you who requested this episode truly got some value out of it. If you are enjoying this content, like, comment, subscribe, leave a review. All of that helps more people find the show, and we can grow more together.
We read all the reviews.
We do indeed. One. And so if you did have any other special requests or anything like that, go ahead, send them in. We absolutely love to see your DMs, your requests, hear what it is that you need assistance with. We are here to help. So again, if you are enjoying this content, you can actually download the Matrix Legacy app. It's available for both iPhone and Android. So you can go ahead and download that and stay up to date with all of our Matrix Legacy content. I will be here next week with another building block for success. Until next time, let's build a legacy.
Take care, guys. Talk to you soon.